Alright, so Drake just walked straight into the dumbest, corniest, most public unraveling of his entire career, and I need every single one of you to sit down for this, because what he just did last night is genuinely something you cannot come back from. Drake, the same Drake who tattooed a woman's face on his body, the same Drake who tattooed a whole man on his body, the same Drake who has been running from smoke since 2018, just cranked up the volume in an empty room and started mocking ASAP Rocky's face, mocking LeBron James, and doing it all with a chain on his neck that basically screams every diamond represents a woman I could not lock down. Buckle up, because we are entering a level of corny I did not know Drake could physically reach. And listen, I don't say this lightly, but Drake might have just publicly BBL'd his own reputation in front of the entire hip-hop internet. Here is exactly what happened. Drake was at his NOCTA Manor event, vibing to his own song Burning Bridges off Iceman, and right as the line, "Look in the mirror, see where talking gets you," hit the speakers, Drake pointed at his own face, specifically at the same spot on his lip where ASAP Rocky has a well-known scar. That's not speculation. That's not a fan theory. That's on camera. Drake pointed at his face. He pointed at the exact spot on his own mouth to line up with ASAP Rocky's mark. And if you think that's already bad, wait until you hear what he was wearing while he was doing it. Because Drake, and I want you to picture this, Drake was standing there in his diamond chain that he himself said represents every woman he tried to marry. Every woman he tried to lock down. Every woman who said no. And you know one name that is famously, cosmically, spiritually absent from that chain? Rihanna. The one woman he built an entire discography of subliminals around. The one woman he has been mad about, quietly and loudly, for over a decade. And he is out here mocking her husband's scar. Her husband. The father of her children. Twice over. And counting. Let me say the obvious part out loud, because somebody has to. Drake, at this exact moment, is not the winner of this story. He is not the villain either. He is somewhere far more embarrassing. Drake is the guy who lost, kept losing, and is now sitting in the dark playing his own diss track to make the losing feel like winning. And I want to walk you through why this is the corniest thing he has done all year, because it goes way deeper than a lip point. Rewind for a second. Because when Drake had the chance, the actual, physical, in-person chance, to look ASAP Rocky in the eye and pull anything, he didn't do a thing. Remember the World Cup event? Future was there. Jay-Z was there. Rocky was there. Rihanna was there. Drake's whole entourage was there. Chubbs was there. Everybody who allegedly runs with Drake was in that room, in that arena, in that same square footage. And Drake didn't move. Chubbs didn't move. Nobody moved. Nobody even pretended to move. Now flash forward a few weeks, everybody has gone home, ASAP Rocky is on the other side of the world, Rihanna is with her kids, Rocky is out here handling business, and suddenly, all of a sudden, Drake wants to play tough guy in a room with velvet ropes and DJ lighting. Nah, playboy. That's not how it works. That is scared money energy dressed up as bravado. And the wildest part, and I mean the part that made me pause the clip 3 times, Drake is doing all of this to a woman who does not want him. Has not wanted him. Will not want him. This isn't just, he lost the girl. Rihanna and ASAP Rocky have children. Plural. Multiple. As in, more than one. As in, the mother of his children is currently building a family with the man Drake keeps trying to jab. And Drake's response to all of that is to point at the guy's face in the club? Come on now. This is starting to read like one of those obsession movies where the guy gets his own wing in the FBI file. If Drake had a whispering willow tree in his backyard, Rihanna's name would be carved into every branch. That's the level we're operating at. And I need you to hear me clearly on this next part, because this is where it gets dark for Drake. There is no version of this story where Drake wins. There is no timeline. There is no universe. There is no alternate dimension where Drake dissing ASAP Rocky flips Rihanna's heart. She's not going to hear Burning Bridges and go, you know what, actually, I did make a mistake. I should have picked the guy who awkwardly kissed me on stage that one time when I clearly did not want it. That is not happening. That has never happened. That will never happen. Rihanna already voted with her whole life. She voted with her body, her time, her children, her tour dates, her merch, her Instagram, her red carpets. Rihanna picked her side, and her side has a scar on his lip, and she still wakes up next to that man every single morning. Drake is dissing a scar on a face that Rihanna kisses. Read that sentence twice. Let it sit in your chest. That is the war Drake keeps signing up for. And listen close on this one, because I want to be fair. If this were regular street beef, I could see it. If this were battle rap for the sport of it, I could see it. Fine, whatever, that's the game. But this isn't battle rap. This isn't a bar-for-bar competition. This is Drake, in a private venue, on his own event night, quietly mocking another man's physical scar. That's not competitive. That is petty in a way that crosses the line from rap into personal. And once you cross into personal, once you start attacking the man's face, you are giving A$AP Rocky permanent license to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, forever. Rocky is now in the right, permanently, indefinitely, forever, to diss Drake in every song, every interview, every red carpet, until the sun burns out. Because number one, Drake keeps dissing him. And number two, Drake keeps dragging the mother of his children into it. Come on. What did you expect, Playboy? And here is a detail nobody is pointing out, nobody. I have been on the internet all morning and I have not seen a single major account catch this. Drake was wearing that chain. That chain. You know the one. The chain he himself explained was engineered as a monument to every woman he tried to make his wife. Every woman he wanted to lock in as a missus, and the whole point of that chain is that the diamonds are receipts, proof that Drake tried and failed to secure. He is literally wearing his losses around his neck. On camera. In public. While mocking the man who won the biggest one of all. That is not flexing. That is a museum exhibit of L's. That is a wearable trophy case of rejection. And he wore it to a party where he thought he was going to look powerful. But look at it this way, because I do think there's a psychology worth pulling apart here. Drake keeps doing this because Drake genuinely cannot accept that A$AP Rocky owns a piece of him. Rocky owns real estate in Drake's brain that Drake cannot evict. Every time Drake tries to move on, something happens, a photo, a lyric, a red carpet, a Grammy nomination, and Rocky is right back in his head. And every time Drake tries to strike back, he ends up looking smaller, because the fundamental math of the situation never changes. Rocky has Rihanna. Rocky has the kids. Rocky has the album. Rocky has the culture. Drake has a chain full of women who told him no. It don't add up, and it ain't ever gonna add up. Now, if you thought Drake was going to stop at the Rocky lip point, you were wrong, because this man had a full night planned. Because at the same NOCTA Manor event, same room, same energy, same overpriced merch table, Drake pulled out a shirt. And this shirt, my friends, is the reason we need to have an entire second conversation. Because the shirt reads, and I quote, "The only LeBron I rate is Juan. Juan LeBron." As in Juan LeBron Chincoa, the Spanish professional Padel player. As in a completely different sport. As in Drake, a grown, wealthy, globally famous rapper, designed, produced, and merchandised an entire t-shirt for the sole purpose of pretending he doesn't rate LeBron James, the same LeBron James he has tattooed on his body. Let me say that one more time, because I do not think it has fully landed. Drake has LeBron James tattooed. On his skin. Permanently. And he printed a shirt saying he doesn't rate LeBron. I am begging you to picture how this looks from the outside. This is scorn baby mama energy. This is, we broke up so now suddenly you're gay and small energy. This is the man who tattoos the woman on his body, then when the situationship falls apart, he goes online and posts, she wasn't even my type anyway. Drake. My guy. You inked LeBron James on your body. That is not a hairline you can trim off. That is real estate. That is a permanent lease. And the moment you double back and try to pretend LeBron doesn't matter, you sound exactly like the bitter ex you keep accusing everybody else of being. And here is the part that made me laugh out loud, genuinely, the shirt itself is a t-shirt design that looks like it came from a 2004 traveling county fair. If you told me somebody guessed Drake's weight and printed that shirt in the same booth, I would believe you. If you told me Drake got that shirt for $6 in a mall kiosk, I would believe you. The design is at DEFCON 4 levels of corny. Nuclear corny. Corny with radioactive fallout. And that is the shirt he chose. That is the merch he greenlit. That is the message he thought was going to land. And now let me get to what actually makes this even funnier, because I am a hip-hop historian at heart, and I need to point out what Drake actually did with that line. Because the only LeBron I rate is Juan is a direct structural lift of the classic Jay-Z bar about Christopher, where Jay-Z famously said the only Christopher he acknowledges is Wallace, meaning Biggie, and by extension, refusing to acknowledge Christopher Columbus. Jay-Z's line is militant. Jay-Z's line is cultural. Jay-Z's line is about rejecting colonial figures and elevating the man who built the culture. It's a righteous bar. It's a bar with weight, with history, with meaning. And Drake, the same Drake who has spent his entire career pulling from the wells of Black American culture, took that specific line, hollowed it out, and turned it into a joke about a Spanish Padel player. That's not just corny. That is cultural appropriation of a bar about cultural appropriation. It is so ironic it loops back around to being tragic. That is like taking Malcolm X's "by any means necessary" and turning it into a slogan for a scooter rental company. That's like taking Nina Simone's "young, gifted, and black" and putting it on a Frappuccino menu. The disrespect isn't just to LeBron, the disrespect is to the very tradition Drake keeps trying to belong to. He can't help but appropriate. And what makes it worse is the appropriation isn't even good. It isn't even clever. It isn't even the kind of bar you can defend as, well, at least it was witty. It's a Fair Booth shirt with a botched Jay-Z reference stapled to it. But watch this next part, because this is where the receipts really turn on Drake. Because after that shirt, Drake reportedly kept the night going by spinning Marvin's Room, of all songs. Marvin's Room. The heartbroken drunk dial anthem. The song he made when he was mad about a girl who moved on. And he's spinning that at the same event where he's making merch to belittle a man he has literal ink of on his body. Bro, this is not the flex you think it is. This is basically writing a diary entry in the sky with a plane and then telling everybody you weren't crying. We can see the sky. We can read the writing. And I need to zoom out for a second, because this is not the first time Drake has done exactly this, and it is not the second time either. This is a pattern. Drake keeps picking beefs with men who, pay attention, own permanent, irreversible real estate on his body and in his life. He has ink of these people on his skin. He has old lyrics praising them stitched into his catalog. He has photos of him embracing them at award shows and NBA games. And when the tide turns and he needs to feel like a big man, he turns around and pretends none of that ever happened. That is not tough. That is not fearless. That is DEFCON level insecurity dressed up in OVO branding. You cannot beat a man whose face is inked on your ribcage by pretending you don't know him. You cannot beat a man whose wife had 2 children with him by mocking his scar in a locked room. You cannot beat LeBron James by printing a t-shirt about a different LeBron. You cannot beat A$AP Rocky by pointing at your own lip. These are physical laws of the universe now. Drake keeps trying to break them, and he keeps getting broken in return. And you know the worst part about it all, the truly worst part, is that this isn't even where Drake's Rihanna problem started. Drake has been sneaking little jabs at Rihanna for years. The subliminals in his songs. The comments in interviews. The photo captions. The old award show moments that everyone tries to unsee. And the whole time, the one consistent variable in Rihanna's life has been A$AP Rocky. Rocky has been at every era of her adult life. Rocky was there before the fame peak. Rocky was there through the beauty empire. Rocky is there through motherhood. And Drake? Drake has been on the outside looking in for so long he has calluses on his forehead from pressing it against the glass. Come to find out, and this is the reveal I want you to sit with, the story Drake has been telling us is not that he doesn't care. It is that he cares too much. Every diss, every subliminal, every merch drop, every empty room point, those are not the actions of a man who has moved on. Those are the actions of a man who wakes up thinking about somebody else's life. Drake is not obsessed with A$AP Rocky. Drake is obsessed with Rihanna. Rocky is just the bricklayer on the wall Drake keeps trying to punch through. That is the whole point. And Drake either can't see it, or he can see it and he can't stop, and I honestly don't know which one is more embarrassing. Because let me put it this way. If somebody hands Rihanna a time machine, Rihanna becomes Cleopatra. Rihanna becomes the reason the Trojan War kicked off in an alternate timeline. Civilizations would rearrange themselves to be in her orbit. That is the magnitude of the woman we are talking about. And Drake is out here in 2026 pointing at his own lip like a middle schooler at a lunch table. My guy. She is not walking through that door. She is not calling. She is not looking. She is holding a baby and laughing at a joke ASAP Rocky just made. That is the timeline you live in. And when I read the comments under the clip, because I did, I sat there and I read them all, the entire internet is on one accord. And that is rare. That almost never happens on hip-hop internet. But every single comment section, from Twitter to Instagram to Reddit to YouTube, has the same energy. They are laughing at Drake, not with him. Somebody posted, Drake losing sleep over this, it ain't me, Pinocchio. Somebody else said, this man has been rating LeBron James for 15 years and now suddenly the LeBron he rates plays Padel. Somebody else posted a fake Google search history for Drake, who else is named LeBron? And every one of those comments has thousands of likes. Thousands. The verdict is in. The people have spoken. Drake didn't just take an L on this one, Drake mailed the L to himself, wrapped it, signed the card, and left it under his own tree. Now here is something I want to be very clear on, because I don't want anybody to miss it. Rocky did not respond. Rocky did not have to respond. Rocky was somewhere else, living the exact life Drake keeps pretending to critique. Rocky is on tour. Rocky is with Rihanna. Rocky is with his kids. Rocky is dropping music. Rocky is on magazine covers. Rocky's silence is the loudest audio in the whole feud. Because when the man you're beefing doesn't even look up to acknowledge you, that is not a beef. That is a monologue. That is you talking to yourself in a mirror while the other guy lives his life. And Drake has been talking to that mirror for a decade. And LeBron, same story. LeBron didn't tweet. LeBron didn't repost. LeBron didn't subtweet. LeBron did nothing. Because LeBron has an NBA season to worry about. LeBron has a legacy to protect. LeBron has his own empire. LeBron does not need to entertain a shirt that reads like a Zazzle mistake. And the more LeBron doesn't respond, the more Drake looks like the guy at the back of the classroom writing notes about the kid at the front of the class who doesn't even know he exists. That's not the vibe. That is never the vibe. On top of all that, I want to point out something the culture has been trying to say for a while now. Drake has crossed a very specific line here, and it is a line that separates rap beef from personal warfare. Rap beef is about bars. Rap beef is about production, delivery, wordplay, cultural relevance. Rap beef gives you ether. Rap beef gives you hit 'em up. Rap beef gives you not like us. What Drake is doing is not rap beef. Drake is not attacking ASAP Rocky's bars. Drake is not attacking Rocky's discography. Drake is not attacking Rocky's producers. Drake is attacking Rocky's face. Drake is attacking Rocky's family. Drake is attacking a scar on a man's lip. That is a completely different arena. And in that arena, Drake is not a competitor. Drake is a spectator throwing popcorn from the cheap seats. Number 1, mocking a man's physical appearance in an empty room is not rap. Number 2, mocking the mother of a man's children is not rap. Number 3, mocking a man you literally have tattooed on your body is not rap. And number 4, and this is the one that ends the entire conversation, mocking 2 men who did not even show up to respond is definitely, absolutely, factually not rap. This is theater. This is desperation cosplaying as swagger. And every time Drake goes back to the same well, the water gets a little more brown. I want to talk about the tattoo situation one more time, because I don't think enough people have really felt what this means. When you tattoo somebody on your body, that is a spiritual document. That is a permanent handshake between you and that person, in the eyes of the ink, in the eyes of the culture. You do not tattoo a man on your body and then, 5 years later, act like you never rated him. That is not something a grown man does. That is not something anybody with a functioning ego does. Because the tattoo doesn't disappear when you change your mind. The tattoo stays. The tattoo watches you. The tattoo is there when you shower, when you sleep, when you get on a plane, when you take a photo with your shirt off. LeBron is on Drake's body. Forever. And every time Drake takes his shirt off for the rest of his life, LeBron is going to be right there, silently reminding him, "You rated me, playboy. You still rate me. You just can't admit it." And come to find out, I mentioned this earlier, but I want to loop back, Rihanna herself is on Drake's body in ink form. That is public. That has been documented. That has been photographed. And that is the deepest cut of all. Because how do you diss the man who won the woman who is literally drawn onto your skin? You can't. It is a battle you already lost before you started swinging. Every diss Drake throws at A$AP Rocky is a diss that lands on his own tattoo. Every jab is an own goal. Every bar is a bar with his own ink as the target. This is the definition of trapped. Drake is in a cage he built with his own drawings. Now, the algorithmic culture has already moved on from Iceman as an album, and I think Drake knows that, and I think that is part of what is animating this whole meltdown. The album underperformed the expectations. The rollout was messy. The streaming numbers came in and they were not what OVO wanted. And so instead of letting the music breathe, Drake is trying to squeeze one more news cycle out of Iceman by turning himself into the news. That is why the shirt exists. That is why the lip point exists. That is why Marvin's room got spun at the party. Drake is not out here having fun. Drake is out here farming attention because the music didn't do it for him this time. And that is the saddest possible read on this whole night. He turned himself into a meme so that his album could stay in the search bar for another 48 hours. But here is the twist, and this is the twist that I need every single one of you to sit with. The strategy is working, but not in the direction Drake wants. Because yes, everybody is talking about Iceman today. Everybody is talking about burning bridges. Everybody is talking about NOCTA Manor. But the conversation is not, wow, Drake ate on that. The conversation is, wow, Drake really has not moved on from a woman who moved on a decade ago. He turned the spotlight on himself, and the spotlight caught him in the exact pose he was trying to hide. Drake wanted to look powerful. Drake looked possessed. There is a difference. And the internet knows the difference. I also want to spend a moment on Chubbs, because Chubbs deserves a paragraph. Chubbs is Drake's guy. Chubbs is the enforcer. Chubbs is the "he'll handle it" energy in the OVO ecosystem. And Chubbs was at the World Cup. Chubbs was in that arena. Chubbs had every single opportunity, in person, with proximity, with line of sight, to do whatever it is people expect Chubbs to do. And Chubbs did nothing. Because there was nothing to do. Because when you are actually in a room with A$AP Rocky and Jay-Z and Future and Rihanna, the temperature drops. The reality checks in. Nobody wants smoke when smoke is standing 3 feet away in a bespoke suit. So the Chubbs mythology died at the World Cup, and it hasn't been resurrected since. And now, weeks later, Drake wants to act like there was ever a threat. There wasn't. Everybody knew it. The whole room knew it. You already lost, playboy. You lost this battle for Rihanna's heart before A$AP Rocky ever walked into the picture, because Rihanna was never going to be yours. You lost this battle with LeBron the moment you decided a Fair Booth shirt was going to change the historical record. You lost this battle with A$AP Rocky the moment you decided to stay in your seat at the World Cup. Every attempt to unlose has just made the losing bigger, louder, more public, more permanent. And I want to end on this, because I think this is where the whole conversation lives. Drake has spent his entire career being the guy who tells his feelings. That was his brand. That was his lane. That was the reason a whole generation put him at the top. He was the vulnerable one. He was the emotional one. He was the one who would cry on the track and make it sound like Sunday morning. That was the gift. And somewhere along the way, Drake decided he didn't want to be that guy anymore. He wanted to be the tough guy. He wanted to be the diss guy. He wanted to be the guy who mocks scars in empty rooms and prints shirts about Padel players. And the culture has been trying to tell him, gently at first and now not so gently, that is not who you are, playboy. That is not what you do best. And every night you try to be somebody you're not, the culture gets to watch you pretend, and the culture is bored of the show. So let me leave you with this. Drake did not just take an L last night at NOCTA Manor. Drake handed out L's like party favors. To himself. To OVO. To his own brand. To the LeBron tattoo on his body. To the Rihanna ink he can never explain away. He fired shots at two men who did not respond, wearing a chain full of rejections, spinning a song about being drunk-dialed, in a room full of people he pays. And when the sun came up, ASAP Rocky was still with Rihanna, LeBron James was still LeBron James, and Drake was still the guy in the mirror pointing at his own lip. That, my friends, is the whole story. That is the whole picture. That is what actually happened. And this is where I want to hear from you. Because I have said my piece. I have laid out the receipts. I have connected every dot. But the internet is a jury, and the jury is you. So tell me in the comments, is Drake done? Is this the L that finally ends the 10-year Rihanna era of his catalog? Is this a rock bottom or is there more corny basement to explore? Are we watching the loudest, most public rap star of the last 15 years unravel in slow motion, or is this all a strategy I'm too close to see? Number 1, tell me if you think Rocky needs to respond, or if Rocky's silence is the best answer he could possibly give. Number 2, tell me if LeBron owes a subtweet, a laugh, or a full sentence, or if LeBron's whole life is already the response. And number 3, tell me if you'd rather see Drake go back to Take Care Drake, or if this new empty room mocking Drake is what you actually want on your playlist. Drop your verdicts below. Take your time. Show your work. And if this breakdown hit, if any of it made you laugh, made you nod, made you replay the clip, you already know what to do. Because the next chapter is coming, and something tells me Rocky, Rihanna, and LeBron are not going to be the last names on this list. There is a shirt Drake hasn't printed yet. There is a lyric Drake hasn't dropped yet. There is a party Drake hasn't thrown yet. And when it lands, you know exactly where to be. Right here. With me. Where the receipts get read out loud. Because until further notice, Drake is not writing his own story anymore. The culture is writing it for him. And chapter by chapter, the culture is telling us the same thing: you already lost, Playboy. You already lost.